Hello, welcome back to Cinderella Math. I'm going to try to do a quick video here, under 15 minutes, sometimes I get long-winded, on the basic finding of the circumference and area of circles. So I'm going to be assuming you already know the main parts of circles, so the center, the radius, the diameter, all that jazz, and that you also have an understanding of pi. You do need a calculator with either a pi button or you can use 3.14. If you're in middle school math right now, 3.14 is probably fine. If you're in high school math, I would recommend using the pi button on your calculator. You can always go to the online calculator Desmos, and there is a pi button as well if you don't own a physical calculator. Your cell phone calculator should also have a pi button. You might have to turn it long ways. All right. So we're going to start off with finding the circumference of a circle. And that is a fancy word for the perimeter of a circle. And perimeter is the distance or the length around an object. Okay. We have a formula for circumference. It's C, capital, equals 2 pi r, where C is the circumference and r is the radius. The radius of a circle starts from the center and kicks out in any direction. That's our radius. Or we can use the secondary equation, C, circumference, is pi d, where d stands for diameter. And the diameter goes all the way through the circle, hitting the center. That's the diameter. Okay. You can use either. I'm going to stick with the first one. That is the kind of standard one. They both work. They are technically the same thing because twice the radius is the diameter. But I'm going to stick with that red one. Okay, you probably don't need to memorize that formula, even though it's easy enough. But if you're taking SAT soon, if you're a high schooler and you're watching this for review, they will give you a formula sheet. Even in middle school, you usually are given a formula sheet. So it is not standard practice to have to memorize these, though you could. I would not say it's necessary. Okay. I am going to be using, well, I'll do it both ways. I'll do the answer with 3.14, and then I'll do the answer with pi button on my calculator, and I will round to the 100th, so the second place. And that is kind of standard to round to the second place here. All right, so just using this formula, example 1. I know my circles aren't going to be perfect. It's fine. Let's say we have a radius of 5 inches. So this could be like a little personal pan pizza, or it could be like a wheel for a Lego set, something like that. And you want to know the circumference. So if it's a pizza, we're talking about the crust. Okay. So circumference is 2 pi r. Our r is 5. Our radius is 5. So r equals radius. So we would have 2 times 5 times pi. I always move pi to the back. We are allowed to change the order in multiply, right? Multiplication is commutative. That means it can be done in any order. So this would be 10 pi. And in high school, that might be your answer, 10 pi inches. Your teacher may not want that though. They may want the decimal approximation. So we can do two things. We can do 10 times 3.14, and if you're in middle school, that's probably what we're going to do. And when you do that, that is 31.4 inches. So the distance around this little Lego wheel or whatever is 34.1 inches. If you're in high school, you're going to probably do 10 times your pi button. And on the calculator, it should look like this. And then you're going to round that to 2 decimals. And that rounds to 31.42. And then we'd be in inches. Okay, so it really just depends on your teacher. They may want it like this, which is called in terms of pi. Middle school, you're probably pushing 3.14, and this is your answer. High school, you're probably pushing pi button and rounding. This is your answer. Okay, so it really just depends. So I'll do it both ways, but just do yours with the one way that your teacher wants. Okay? What if they don't give you the radius? What if they give you the diameter? So yes, we could use that secondary formula, but again, I think it's just easier to use the one formula. So here's the diameter. If I could hit the middle, would be good. Here's the diameter, and let me say that is 22 centimeters. And I'm still asking for the circumference. So again, that would be the length of the air of the around the circle, right? The perimeter of the circle, if you will. Okay. So the entire diameter is 22. So yes, we could use that blue formula, but for ease, I just like remembering one formula. So if they give you the diameter, that is double the radius. But I just want the radius. So if we divide by 2, that'll do it. So take the diameter, cut it in half. So do 22 cut in half. So scratch that off, that's 11. So our radius is 11. And now we can go. Circumference is 2 pi r, and we just said the radius is 11. 2 times 11 times pi. Again, I like to move the pi to the back. That's totally allowed. 22 pi centimeters. High school, that might be your answer if your teacher wants it in terms of pi. Or we push the calculator. Middle school, you're going to do 2 times 3.14, most likely. And that is 69.08, and we're centimeters. It is important to put the units. I know it's annoying, but do it anyway for me. And high school, or depending on middle school, how picky your teacher is, you're going to do 22 times that pi button and round off to the hundredth. And that's 69.12 centimeters. So again, 3 possible answers. It just kind of depends. Okay. I don't even know if I need to do any more. That's pretty much it. Um, yeah, that's it. If you are going around a circle, that is called the circumference, which is a fancy word for the perimeter, and that's how you do it. Okay, let's go on to area. So area is the amount of space that something takes up, our 2D shape takes up. So this is going to be the space inside the circle. We have a formula for this. Again, you don't have to memorize it, but it's easy to memorize. It's pi r squared. Okay. So we'll still have our circle and we'll still want the radius. I'm going to say it's 3. So we can pretend, 3 inches. Let's pretend again that this is like a wheel for a Lego set, like a building a car. You want to know how much space is inside the wheel. That's what area is. Okay. And we do measure area in square units. So it's basically how many teeny tiny squares of 1 inch on each side would fit in there. Okay, don't stress about that. Honestly, all you gotta do, take your radius, plug it in. So area equals 3 squared times pi. Again, I just always like to move the pi to the back. That's completely allowed. 3 squared is 9 times pi. Well, this is inches squared. High school, this might be your answer. You don't need the times. Just say 9 pi inches squared. If your paper or your teacher says leave it in terms of pi, you are done. Okay, or two options, and again, middle school option, we're probably going to go like this. 9 times 3.14, and that's 28.26. We're going to be inches and square. Always square in area, because again, that's how many tiny square inches would fit in this circle. High school, or maybe, it just depends on your teacher. If you're middle school, you're going to do 9 times the pi button and round off. That's 28.27. So see, they're close, but it's a slight difference, inches squared. If you're asking me which one's the best answer, this one. This is the most exact. Out of the two on the bottom, this is actually better because pi button is more precise than 3.14. But this answer here, this is fine. If your teacher says use 3.14, do it. Okay. All right, let me do another one where they have given us the diameter. Right, so diameter is all the way through, hitting the center. And let's say this is 15 meters. So you could say this is a pool or something, and straight across the pool is 15 meters. And you're ordering a cover for the pool, right, to keep the leaves out in the fall. And you order it online. They're like, okay, what's the area of your pool? So you need to measure the area. Now, here's the bad thing. We only have the diameter here. They're asking for the radius. So again, diameter is double the radius. Chop in half, chop in half. So just do diameter, chop it in half. That is the radius. So do 15 divide 2. Scratch that out, and that is 7.5. So it's okay to have a decimal. So our radius is 7.5. And then just put that right into our formula. Right there. Area is pi r squared. Area is 7.5 squared times pi. Again, I just moved the pi to the back. I've just always done that. You don't have to. I just think it looks better. Go in your calculator, 7.5 squared. 56.25 pi, we're in meters square. This is your answer if your paper says leave in terms of pi. And that is the most exact answer. Okay, or over here, let's do 56.25 times 3.14. And we're going to round to two places. That is 176.63 rounded meters square. So when you go on Amazon or whatever to order the pool cover, that's the area you need to make sure the cover fits. I'm sure they have different sizes, right? Or do 56.25 times your pi button on your calculator, and let's round off. And that's 176.71 meters square. So again, close, but there is a little bit of difference there. It just depends on your teacher or your worksheet or whatever, what you're going to do. Some people also tell you to put in the calculator that pi is like 22 over 7. I don't personally use that one, but you could. But I don't. I say either just do 3.14 or do the pi button. Okay? Feel free to leave a comment down below if you need help finding the pi button on your particular calculator. You can also just Google your model of your calculator and say such and such model pi button, and you should get a YouTube video that someone's already made to show up. That's it. That's all there is to it, to find the area and circumference of a circle. I mean, of course, there's more complex examples. We could do word problems, but this was just the basics, and I hope this was helpful and that you're having a great day. Bye-bye.